Every day on a Micah Beatty job site, he asks the customer the same question: do you see anything you'd like us to fix? Every single day while the work is still happening, while the cabinets are still going up. He tells me confrontation postponed is confrontation amplified, and he's built his entire customer reputation on it. Micah owns Division 7 Millwork in Putnam Valley, New York. He does custom kitchens, vanities, and beautiful millwork across Westchester, Putnam, and the five boroughs. He built his own house during COVID, and it is gorgeous. We talked for about an hour about how he actually runs the shop, the design framework that caps customer choices at three, the dedicated communication officer who keeps installers out of the question answering business, the stagers and installers split into separate roles for proximity based scheduling, and why he refuses to let AI price his commercial bids. If you've ever wondered whether you should hire another person or fix the process first, this one's going to give you a clearer answer. Let's go.
All right. So before we get into the business stuff, can you just tell me a little about yourself? Like, where'd you grow up? What did you want to be when you were a kid? Kind of before everything happened, before you had this entrepreneurial journey of you.
Yeah, so I grew up on the very close to the Pennsylvania New York border, Middletown area. I say Middletown because it's like the biggest city in that area, right off of 84 and 17 where it comes together. But as a kid, I was always drawn toward my mom's industriousness in the house. She was always doing projects in the house. A lot like you, a lot like you. Yeah, she was always like
Pretty much.
doing tile and all this amazing stuff that she wasn't, she never grew up around, but she really did it well. And I was like pretty impressed by that. And my dad was, he worked for a company. He was a distribution manager. So he was very analytical with his sense of logistics, because that's what he did for work. And so I kind of wanted to be an artist. Actually, I kind of excelled in art and drawing and sketching and that type of thing. And so I didn't realize as I grew up that I kind of had my mother's aptitude, right, with doing things with my hands. So it kind of was a
Yes.
natural progression. Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah. I feel like even with just, I've seen the work that you've done, like it is artistry. That is what it is.
Oh, thank you.
That's how I feel about your work, because it's just beautiful, and I feel like you just turn, like, ugly pieces of wood into this, like, beautiful masterpiece.
Oh,
So
thank you.
so, like, how old were you when you were kinda like, "Okay, now I'm going to actually do this as a career or, like, do this for other people?"
Yeah. So it it was right after I got out of school. There was a period of time that I didn't go to college, so I was just like taking a break and trying to learn, see what I wanted to do. And so I worked for a commercial contracting company. They had like I don't know, 200 employees, right? So you're just one of many guys, and you really learned the structure of it all. I was working with concrete and steel stud framing, so you really learned the commercial end of things. And I worked really with guys that really wanted to train younger guys, and so it was really neat. It was in a company right around the Newburgh area. There was Storm King Contracting, it was called at the time. And so they were really forward on training. And so I got a chance to learn from some pretty neat guys. I was there for about 2 to 3 years. And then I moved to a really small company that was like six guys, and they did high end residential in Greenwich, Connecticut, where, really money wasn't the option, or it didn't matter what people spent on things. And so it was like pretty neat to work at really high end stuff, and I was there for a while. But the owner of the company really took me in, and he taught me the ins and outs of business in that company, rather than the day to day. So how to draw up contracts, how to interface with the customer, how to have processes in place. So he kind of was like a mentor to me in that way. So all the while you're getting help. You're not an island, so to speak, but you're learning from people that really want to see you succeed. And maybe they did that because they saw that there was interest, in that. So
Of course. So I feel like that's so important too, like starting with no playbook or
Mhm.
no blueprint or whatever else like someone with that experience can teach you. Starting without that is like a really big disservice and like puts you behind immediately. And if you could just kind of repeat what he's doing and put your own spin on it,
Yeah.
then you have like much more success to start out with. So that's pretty great that like, you had that experience, especially in high end, high end types of jobs. Like there's a different expectation between like the service.
Yeah.
High end, they expect a different flow than maybe somebody that's looking for like a budget job,
Yeah.
but you can also get more money from the high end stuff. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
And my next question was actually going to be about like someone taking a chance on you. And I feel like he kind of did.
Yeah. Well, I was working, I was doing all the handwork labor as far as the millwork and the detailed crown molding and all the fancy deck work, ornamental stuff. And then he saw that, and yeah, he kind of took a chance on me leaving jobs with me with some of his guys, and so that worked out really well. And so you really learn how to manage people as well at an early age, and that really helps
Yes,
because if you can't work with people, you can't do it all by yourself, right? You need the team. So
absolutely.
working with people was important. And yeah, so he took a chance on me. And it's been like that really throughout the whole tenure or even more of my career, just, taking jobs. And whenever you write up a proposal and someone doesn't know you, right? And you sign a contract, really they're taking a chance on you, right? And so
Yeah.
if you feel that way, and if you feel like there's a really big burden on your shoulders to full come through and do a good job, that's going to really impact how you go about your job.
Yeah, for sure. And now, do you get most of your work like based on referrals? Because I know you do a good job and I know you work in these high end, places. Is most of your work coming from referrals?
Yeah, and actually, it's referrals, but it's actually less high end now than it used to be. It's either well, I'm usually doing either commercial or mid residential. That's kind of what I'm keying on now, because I feel like if you can service the mid range and give people what they want at a something that's able to be afforded for, I think that's really important because I think there's a larger slice of cross section of people, and I feel like you're
Yes.
doing them a service if you can give them high end or quality work at a reasonable price.
I completely agree with that, and that's where the majority of people really are.
Yeah.
They're kind of in that mid tier. So it's like more people to know who you are, more people to refer you, more jobs to take on. So that makes complete sense to me. Now, as you take on more of these jobs and get busier, what does your day kind of look like? How difficult is it to kind of stay organized or to stay in that type of business that you really set out to be?
Yeah. So it's about a game plan, and sometimes because of logistics, you have to have a B plan. So my day usually starts the previous day. So all the
Mhm.
guys know what they're doing the next day. So we have a group chat and we have work orders that we have written out and typed out. And so they all have where they're going, directions to where they're going, and what the job is going to entail. Sometimes there's a job,
Okay.
if it's a little bit more complicated, there'll be a job meeting the day before about what's to expect the next day. So then they'll know that they have to go through a tool list of things that they'll need. The materials have already been procured from our team inside in the office. And so all they have to do is do the work. We're teeing everything up for them, and they're already mentally prepared for what's gonna happen. And so if it's a
Okay.
more difficult situation, I'll go and do the kind of the interface for them, that run interference, uh, and get things started just to see, everything's going to go smooth. And then, I can back away and work on more, managerial things. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of
I
what a day looks
that's
like.
good. Okay, but I mean, I like that you plan ahead of time. I think that that's really smart and keep everyone on the same page. Because again, like you need things to run smoothly,
Yeah.
and you don't want to come back in a couple days and everything's done wrong.
No, no, right. Right.
Which I'm sure you don't hire anyone that would do that. So that's silly, but you never really know.
Right. But things always come up, right? So, and really managing expectations is really a really important part of the job. So we have somebody that's just in communication, So they talk with the customer and they let them know
Okay.
what to expect, how long the job's going to take. And then if there's any questions, don't really bother the guys about those things. Go to the communications person, and that person will really let them know how the lay of the land is going to be and what to expect over the next few days. And that's really important because that way the guys don't feel the pressure of the customer not knowing, and also the customer doesn't feel the pressure
Yep.
of the unknown, the pressure of the unknown, right? So
Exactly. No, that's really smart. And I find that a lot of businesses do not have that type of system. They don't really know, like, everyone is sort of in charge of communication, but nobody's in charge of
right, yeah,
communication. So it's like if everybody's in charge of communication, then everybody's doing it their own way. Everyone's
right.
telling you something different.
Hmm.
So I feel like that also causes confusion and like doesn't make you look good because no one's actually that point person. And I think having that person gives the customers, like confidence that somebody here knows exactly what's going on. And like you said, like it doesn't put the burden on your workers to stop what they're doing and explain the process that maybe they don't understand what you have, for that process. So
Right.
that's very smart to have that person. Now, what part of the job would you say like is, I guess it's more of like, what is like nothing to do with the actual work that eats up a lot of your time or like a burden that you have to deal with?
Yeah, so I would say that it would be design choices, right? So you can present. I try to limit the design choices too. I always give people three choices. I listen to what they want, or my designer does, and they present three choices to them. Three choices of tile, three paint colors, three this, three wood colors, three stains. And when you muddy the waters with going more than that, it could get a little bit dicey. So, over time we've noticed that through experience that's helped to kind of narrow the window and actually visually take it away from them. Like, do you like this one? No. And then move it out of their range of view. Okay, so now you have these two. What do you like? Do you like this one or this one? And then they're like,
Hmm.
you know, and so then that really narrows what they're going for. That kind of helps. But if you can get through some of those design choices quicker, and starting earlier helps in that process. So even if we're framing or we're just at the, let's see, if we're doing millwork, we're doing the shop drawings, right? If we're just doing the shop drawings, still then it's a good time to present them with some inspirational pictures to get on the same page as them, to see what they're
Yeah.
kind of thinking about.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how much time does it typically take for somebody to kind of map out a complete design? I mean, I guess it depends on the project,
Yeah.
right? But is it usually like days, weeks?
Yeah. So usually, let me just start with the lead time. So we're usually 5 to 6 weeks on lead time. So if you want a kitchen, or if you want like this, you know, hutch that I built behind me, if you want that, like, it's going to be 5 to 6 weeks, just because there's a backlog of people that's in front of you. So, but the design portion of it, so they'll come to me and say, "Hey, I want a hutch," and then I'll be like, "Okay, do you want it painted or stained?" Well, I don't. I think I want it stained. Okay, I'm going to send you some pictures. Do you have pictures of something you'd like? And then they send me pictures of something they'd like. I will send it to my draftsman team. They'll draw something, and they'll draw again three of them. Which one do you like? And usually I can get that drawing back within 2 days. So
Okay.
between when they say they like something and they're seeing um, a drawing of it is within 2 to 3 days, and they can make a decision. Okay, I like the middle one, number two option. Okay, and then from there you can just hone it in with renderings and whatever. So I would say, yeah, if they're quick with the decision, within 4 days we can get pretty much most things designed out. If it's a larger kitchen and there's butler pantries and a whole bunch of things, that's going to take a little bit longer. But usually one-off pieces, vanities, that type of thing, we can get in pretty quick.
Okay, that's good. And I feel like since you clearly have a system of the power of three, which I really like,
Uh-huh.
I think that, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the less choices that you have, the easier it is to actually make a decision. And that I think goes with pretty much everything. So it's really great that you've learned that because I do think a lot of businesses give the customer too much freedom or leeway and expect them to sort of want to pick out their decisions. And I don't think that people generally make the best decisions when they're kind of left on their own. So I
Yeah.
think that like you as a professional are like, here is the three choices that I think you'll like the best based on what they're telling you.
Yeah.
And you have to be sort of that like diagnostic, like
Yeah.
what is it that they actually want? What are they going to like? So I think that's really important that you do that.
Yeah. I don't think, yeah, I think it's the giving them the right choices, right? And so that starts with listening. And you can't give the choices that you like. Sometimes you're presenting options to them that you think that are just horrendous, you know? They're just, they're not what you like at all, but you're thinking you've gotten inside of their mind, right? And if you kind of look around and see how they're designed the house that they're in now and what their style is. And, one of the bigger issues is, opposites always attract, right? So husband and wives have totally different
Yeah.
styles, right? So the husband's picking one thing and the wife's picking another thing. So you might have to, in those three choices, you sometimes you're picking one that the husband likes and knowing that the wife's not going to like it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like a cage match. They have to fight it out amongst themselves, you know? So
Who ends up winning most of the
yes.
time?
Well, definitely the wife. The wife ends up winning, you know?
I was gonna say that's usually my strategy is if I like something, like I'll present my husband maybe like two choices, both of them which I like, and then I make him choose which one he likes so he feels like he has like some sort of say in
Wow.
it. But
That's pretty great.
yeah.
Man,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I don't know, I'm leaning more, like which one do you like better? And he's like that one. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was what I was leaning towards too." Like
but you liked all three of them.
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
wouldn't pick out something I didn't like and show it to him.
Yeah. But I think as men too, I think we're conditioned a little bit because he can look around in your house and see that everything is beautiful. So he's like, he knows that you're gonna,
True.
he's gonna everything that you do is pretty nice. So he's gonna like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that is true. He's like, if you like it, then I'll trust you. And that's sort of how I feel about you, honestly. Like, I've let you have some kind of creative leeway in my house too. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's cool. I trust you.
Thanks, Ash. Sometimes online you're hearing things like generational wealth and growing 10x your company, all these things. And it's like, for me, it really depends on what your goals are, right? So,
Hmm.
I saw in one of the questions on the questionnaire was like, how have you been successful or something like that to that aim? And I was like, it really depends on your view of success. To me, if I was to flip on its head, 10x your company, it would be like 10x your tribe to me, and in your associates, like who do you work with? Like to me, I look at you as an associate. Like I would look for leads for you, you know, because I know your work and I know how good it is. And then also you would look for leads for me. And
Yep.
does that make us tribe members? I think so, because I think if you were
Yeah.
to expand that out, we also, like, if I was driving by your house on a weekend and I pulled in your driveway, you wouldn't be like, who's in my driveway? You'd be like, come on in, have a glass of wine. So it's also like-minded individuals that you wouldn't mind spending time with as well. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think when you can broaden that group and do work with a broader group, I think you're only going to be successful, you know?
Yeah.
And
I completely agree.
instead of like generational wealth, to me, I'm like think about generational qualities like integrity and compassion and things that, you know, glue people together. I think to me that's where the value is for me.
Yeah.
Because if my kids if they can take those principles, those really hardcore principles as integrity and doing what you say you're going to do and industriousness and compassion, and they pass that on to the next generation, I think that's generational. To me, that's generational wealth. You know what I mean?
Completely. That's very, very true. And, it's like, I feel like some people, they have, I guess, a different view of it where it's like, the more money I make.
Mhm.
But I don't think that that's like everything. Like you were saying, I feel like the tribe is really important. I don't typically pick people to work with that I don't feel like I have vibe
Hmm.
with, or at
Yeah.
least I don't think that maybe we're on the same page. I feel like choosing a client or a customer that you don't really work with is not going to end up in a good referral, or it's not going to end up in a good situation. I'd rather turn down work that I feel is not going to be aligned with my core mission. And I feel like you're the same way, picking people that you surround yourselves with. Um, yeah, you have to pick people that you can be a tribe with. I love that.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why I've kind of shifted to working with middle class, because I think it's more of a mindset that I grew up with. And so when the working guy is like, yeah, I want this, I just don't want to spend $80,000 for it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it too.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Exactly. It's like people love to remodel things. People love to change things.
mhm,
People love to beautify their houses.
right.
But as soon as you see the price tag and you're like, okay, no, thank you, it's upsetting. And it's kind of, well, then we can't do this. And I feel like you definitely feel that need of making it look beautiful. You
Yeah.
have a designer's eye, but not inflating the price so much that it's absolutely unattainable.
Right. Right. And that's really the goal. And to be, the working man's mill worker.
Yeah, I think especially in today's economy, like a lot of people are looking for someone like
Mhm.
you where you can come in, even if you weren't to change a lot, maybe change a little bit, but if you change the paint colors or you change the cabinets or something, like it could make a whole different look of the kitchen,
Yeah.
but you don't have to spend a crazy amount tearing everything
So what about AI? AI is interesting, right? Technology.
AI is, yes. And the way that businesses implement AI is also very interesting. What are you guys doing with AI?
So with our commercial bids, I'm finding that it's so a general contractor will send all of the bids out to, like, different trades, plumbing trades, electrical trades. And what I'm seeing with the millwork trades, like if we do a wing at a hospital, and there'll be 300 pieces of millwork, different exam rooms, and I'm finding that when I talk to the estimators, the bids are coming back all within similar pricing because people are using AI. And I do
Oh.
use AI for segments of the job to try to get what the material is, or, what the pricing of material is, but I don't use it for pricing a job. And so when my price comes back, an estimator might be like, "So why are you 30% cheaper here?" And I'll say, "Well, I know that that's a really easy portion of the job, and that's going to go quicker, and I can do that really quicker. That's why it doesn't need to be inflated." But
Yep.
the AI just for the other guys have just spit out a number that, you know, it's a lineal foot price without
Mhm.
without the mindfulness of the complexity or lack of complexity to the job. And so that's what I'm seeing as an error point in my favor, because I'm not giving AI the power over pricing for my company, but I am using it for other things. And because I think it's a valuable tool, and I think it's an amazing tool,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it definitely is, but it needs human oversight
Yes.
on a lot of these things.
Hmm.
And just like you said, I think that people that are overusing it and not actually checking their work before sending it out, it
Hmm.
is going to be a disadvantage and do a disservice because you still need that human brain to
Right.
go, okay, we can fix this. And I feel like it just gives you an advantage when you submit a proposal and then you can explain,
Yes.
oh, these people are actually
Right.
overcharging you for this because it's not going to take that long. Immediately, I would trust you on that. I'd be like, well, this guy's not trying to be dishonest. He's not trying to just hand me generic work. Like, this is customized to me
Hmm.
and customized at maybe a lower price point or maybe just a better quality price point.
Yeah.
I just feel like the trust factor would be there on that one.
Yeah. And I also find that, like, so with AI, you're saving on manpower, you know, but it does overestimate on some things. So it's like, I think you're saving more with the manpower, so it might work, but these jobs are really getting cost prohibitive because of where they're going with not mindfulness pricing, you know? We've seen several jobs come back and need to be value engineered. Partially it's because of tariffs and things are more expensive, but also if you couple that with not mindfulness in the pricing, that's really making the jobs go kind of out of control and needing to be re-engineered. And it's funny that a lot of guys that work in the trades, they what do they say? They say AI is not going to take my job. You'll never have an AI. You never have a robot doing plumbing, right? And while that might be true, if the class guy doesn't have the money to pay for the plumber or the electrician or the kitchen that he wants because AI took his job, then
Yep.
then indirectly, yes, AI took your job.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people still don't really understand this about AI is
Yeah.
that it's going to end up, especially because if these companies are using it as an excuse to fire thousands of
Right.
people, then it's like that is that's a lot less people in the
Yeah.
marketplace that are buying these
Right.
trade services.
Yeah.
And then they'll basically prioritize when their boiler breaks
Yes.
over getting a new kitchen. Like that's just how it works. If you have a limited amount of money, you don't have a job prospect, you have to pick and choose. And you need an economy where people are doing these, I like to call them like aesthetic
Yeah.
type of jobs
Yeah.
where it's not necessary. It's just like the pretty jobs
Mhm.
that make it more beautiful. Yeah, so you're right about that. I never really thought about it like that, but AI did essentially take their physical jobs because they don't have any more.
Yeah. They don't have any work to pay you, right? And I kind of gave like a really bad analogy because the plumber is always going to win. Everybody's you're always going to need your plumbing, right? So if you don't,
Yes.
you're not going to go for the kitchen, but you want your toilet to work. You know what I mean?
That's very true, and you're right. I feel like the plumber would always be necessary, so maybe that's what it's trying to tell us. We should all just go into plumbing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh god. Yeah, I've been using AI quite a lot
Yeah.
myself too, but I do feel like it's just been helping me to get things done quicker.
Hmm.
And then honestly, like I could hire more people
Yes.
to actually manage
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
which is giving more jobs to people. So I guess it's like in the way that you're using it
Hmm.
is different. Like I think there's going to be a lot more AI operators in the future, like you were saying, where you can't just submit a proposal without double checking it. But who has to double check it? And is
Yeah.
it going to be you every time? Or can you hire somebody that maybe you could teach
Yeah.
to look at things in a different way and like make the proposal more human like?
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot more of these AI operators that are just really double checking the kind of bad work of AI.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, yeah, there's something out there. The agents, like the Claude agents are out there, which are
Mm-hmm.
AIs that are really honed into a specific a subset, and they're looking
Yep.
at the details and the nuts and bolts of a certain item or a certain thing that can. And yeah, I think if you can run different agents, I think that's where I think it's the future is in AI. But we use it all the time in our admin, for making spreadsheets and trying to figure out where waste is. And it's been extremely helpful in tracking spending and even like the longevity or length of jobs. Sometimes there's jobs that you think you made money on, and then when you punch it through AI,
Oh,
it's like,
no.
no, you didn't. So then you have to make some tweaks. But those real time tweaks really help you hone in your business because maybe you can give somebody a savings somewhere else, but you need to bring something else a little bit higher. But that
Mm-hmm.
modulation really really does help with the business. So yeah, it's not, if you're hearing me and you're hearing that I'm anti AI, I'm not. I like AI and I love technology. We were one of the first smaller shops, to employ CNC technology, which is a robotic machine that cuts out the parts. Usually it was,
Yeah. Those are very cool.
yeah, shops under 20 guys would not be doing that, but we were along for many years, 11 guys, 8 guys, and we had a CNC, and so that was very helpful. Technology
Wow.
was very amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I like your use of it in like, figuring out if the job is profitable or not, because those are things that I think a lot of businesses don't really look at that closely.
Mhm.
And they're not really looking at the profitability. And it's like you want to make sure that you take on jobs that
Right.
you're going to be profitable with, obviously, but also just figuring out maybe what could be cut out or what
Yeah.
is an extra unneeded expense. Because if you're not spending $1,000 here, you could potentially spend it someplace
Yeah.
else, which, affects something different or a different area of your business. And that's pretty cool too, because I think just not having a handle on it, you don't know where your money's going to.
Yeah. So Ashley, so you work with a lot of small business. What would you say the size of company or employee rate or employee count, I should say, that you work with?
Yeah. So typically I'll work with companies that have anywhere between like 8 to
Yeah.
10 people and all the way up to like maybe like 20 to 25 people.
Oh, great.
Smaller businesses, but businesses that are established, that have proved that they can provide good service, but a lot of times they just have a lot going on in the background, and there's a lot of things to manage. And especially once you get up to that, like, 10 to 15 employee type of business, there's a lot of different things that you have to worry about, or a lot of different things that you're trying to do every day. And sometimes it becomes just you're literally just managing questions or
Yeah.
people and it's like you can't be the operator of the business and also just be answering a ton of questions all the time.
Right.
So you have to take yourself out of that. And that's how I help businesses implement AI, because you can repeat things or you can automate things that you would typically do all the time manually. And then that's one less thing that you have to do. And then you can focus on, other things that actually move the business or grow the business.
So what would you tell a guy who's an owner operator, but what would be like the one thing that you would tell him to kind of point him in the right direction of his company and going in the right direction?
Yeah, the first thing I think I usually tell people is focus on your reputation,
Wow.
especially online,
Yeah.
because that is the place where the majority of, if they're serving homeowners, that is the place where the majority of homeowners are going. They're going to
Yeah.
Google, now they're going to ChatGPT, now they're going to Gemini. They're going to places and they're searching for their problems that they have. So to me, that's almost like the easiest thing to do, because you have to just every time you see a customer, remember to ask them for a review,
Yeah.
and that can all be automated, which then makes it even less work that you have to do. But that's the first thing I would say to do. Like, try and get as many reviews, because that's really what's going to bring you your jobs. And if you
Wow.
have no jobs, you have no business. So, yeah, you need that.
Yeah, I think you're making a really good point, because that's something that we're really bad at. Like when we're finished with a job, we're really keying on if they're happy, what more can we do? Awesome. We'll see you next time. But so we're really no, we really want them to be happy, but we don't follow that up with, okay, so now that you're happy, can you, like us or give us a review, so that
Yep.
we're really bad at that. And I think that that's something that you're saying that really resonates with people, that's what they need to do. Because even with me, I got you've seen content that I've sent you. Even I'm
Hmm.
generating content out there for the company, but I'm not, that content is not associated or connected with any kind of referral. And I think that
Right.
the marrying of the two is really important. So people could say, okay, I see the
Yep.
content and I see people are enjoying or working with this individual. They're doing a good job. Let me use them too.
Yeah, completely. So I think the content is really good. I think that you keep making content because that goes along with your reputation.
Mhm.
You show finished work. People really want to see that. They want to see that you're a real company doing really good work, especially when you're in more of these industries where it's about like the end result, the beautification, they want to know that they're going to get a good result. And that's why it's like you pair that. So you have videos on one hand and pictures, and then you also have the reviews on the other side. And sometimes people will leave a review with a picture,
Right.
which then makes it look more credible because they're actually saying, I am a customer, a real customer that has used this service. I like to say there's like a marketing matrix that I go by. It's know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer. So it's like first you have to get people to know who you are, then you have to get them to like you.
Right.
So that's the pictures and the content and the reviews. And they'll be like, oh, okay, I like what's going on here. Then they try it. They have you out for an estimate. You draw up some plans or, something like that. They eventually buy it from you. Then they maybe buy from you again because now they have another project to do in another part of their home. And then they refer you. And then maybe they're the ones that give the Google reviews. And referral to me doesn't just mean like one or two people.
Right.
That means writing a review, which then 600 more people will read. So they are basically your advertisement for other people. And that's why I think it's important with the Google reviews is the more that you have, the more people vouching for you.
Yeah.
And then it kind of repeats that cycle again.
Yeah, that seems like a really good recipe for generating more business. So do you do that for people, or do you just encourage them to do that?
Yeah, I do that for people and I help them to basically figure out their entire marketing strategy. So like how is it that people are getting to know you?
Yeah.
How is it like what is your presence online? What is your presence offline? Like what are you doing to get in front of people? And this is the reason why I started a podcast because I want to get in front of more people and just show them that there are different there's different ways of doing business than you do it. And that's something that I've learned too, where like if you're stuck in a bubble and you're like, okay, I have just done this way for that long, but then you find out, oh, someone else is doing it
Yeah.
differently. And I think that the way they're doing it might be better or might be smarter or
Yeah.
just like less time to the prize. So I help with that. And I kind of just look at people's marketing strategies and see, is this job even profitable? Should you be focusing more on these types of jobs? Should you be focusing more on these types of jobs? What is your main offer to your core customer?
Right.
Are you making more money with bathrooms? Or are you making more money with kitchens? What should you be focusing on to do essentially the least amount of work for the most amount of profits? Or what do you like doing? What do you feel like you can get done in a day versus 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So, you know, that depends. Do you want quick cash or are you waiting for the next, installment?
Yeah. And that's interesting to me because like my interaction with you is all inter-office business processes and organization with like
Hmm.
in the office, but I know that you do the marketing end as well. I just didn't know how much of that you did. So that's pretty neat. And the podcast, where is the best place to like see all of your content as far as podcasts go?
But right now, everything I have is pretty much on YouTube. And then I will cut clips and put them on Instagram and TikTok. So you can see like the short clips. So you don't have to watch the entire interview there. Because people's attention spans are very short.
Yeah.
So I'll cut them up after and I'll give you the clips. And you can share those too. Like share stories about what we were talking about just now, like how you really have this sense of pride when you're working on people's houses. Like you're not just sort of that person that just doesn't care. And I think people want that and they want to see that in your content too.
Yeah.
Because you genuinely take customers from not having something to like having this amazingly beautiful kitchen or bathroom or whatever it may be. It could be a door. I mean, like it doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as the story kind of makes sense for them, I think that will set you apart between other people that show up and just look at it as more of a paycheck because you don't come across as that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life is a story, right? So everything that you do within that life becomes a story and it could be told. It should be told, right?
Very true. And that's how you get people to know you
Yeah.
more is tell your story, tell them what you're all about, and then they can trust you. And especially when you're dealing with an expensive type of product or
Yeah.
service, like people want to know you and understand you more. That's what they're looking for. So, where do you see your business in like 5 years or so? Where is this all going? What does that best version of you look like?
Yeah. To me, it's not so much in people growth, like I was saying, for success. It would be more doing more jobs with the same amount of people, honing the process. That's to
Hmm.
me the beauty of it. It's like honing the process, getting the process better, doing same amount of quality, condensing the time so we can have more customer base. So yeah, it wouldn't be that much growth, because I think even with processes and overgrowth, even if you have people that you trust over it, it could still be more stress that I want to take on in my life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, uh, yeah, I would to me, the process is where I really enjoy or see enjoyment. And so like in 5 years, if I can do 20% more work in the same time frame, just through a well-oiled process, that would be great. Because what that would mean is the people around me would be able to make more money, they'd be more
Hmm.
satisfied, and their work would actually essentially become easier. Even though they're doing more work, because there's a process in place, it's not going to feel like it's tenuous in any way, you know? So
I think
that's my
that
goal.
that's super important. Processes, like, I think people also underestimate processes. And as a business owner, I feel like by you recognizing that the processes make things faster and make less confusion for everybody, it's so important to have that. And then your direction, you can serve more people just by being able to
Right.
get in and out. And I feel like that also then contributes to what people will leave as a review about you.
Yeah.
Like, this company did this in this amount of time and it was way quicker than we expected, or we got back into our house, quicker, because
Yeah.
those are the types of things that I see. I see a lot of negative reviews. And most of the time, the negative reviews consist of they seem disorganized. They didn't show up on time. They didn't have any process. They just kind of like left it, and I can't get in touch with anyone anymore. Like, there's just a lot of
Or they
things
didn't
that
clean up.
people will say.
That's a
A
big one.
lot of it is they didn't clean up. Yes, exactly. Like, I have had to get removed multiple reviews that was like the crew left cigarette butts
Oh,
everywhere,
wow.
or they left their cans of soda all over my yard. Like, just things like maybe the whole job went really good until the last minute
Wow.
when you guys forgot to clean up. So for me, I agree with that completely. I think the processes are important. And if you can get them going, then it's just a repeatable model. And if you have something to repeat, you can also hire a new person very quickly and
Yeah.
get them, learning everything instead of feeling like it's all stuck in your head and
Right.
having to teach them
Yes.
these things again. That's useless.
Right. And two, a process is not a process if it's not written down. Like it has to be
Hmm.
documented. So if somebody could even take it and be like, oh, so I do that. Step one, I do that. Step two, I do this. And even like what I was saying is one thing that we've been playing with lately is even proximity. Like if we switch the times, if we drop off uh, the materials and the millwork for the job the day before, right? And we're doing another job in the same town, we'll drop off another job at the same day. And then that crew potentially could not only start the base cabinets of a kitchen, but they can also do the uppers and jump over and do the base cabinets of the next job. So because proximity is really important. Like you can't do that
Hmm.
if you're going to another town. But if you have your crew that is staging things and then your installers that are just doing them, that is huge. A lot of companies have their stagers and installers the same people. So they deliver
Mm.
the installers are delivering the cabinets, and then they're unloading the cabinets, and now they're unpacking the cabinets. You know what I mean? And now they're starting to install the cabinets. But if you had, guys that didn't need that skill set of installing to bring your cabinets and
Yep.
unpack them and stage them, now the installer is all the only thing he's doing, and now he's working on his skill set, which is installing. And now those guys can
Yep.
go to another area and start unpacking and staging and getting everything ready for the installer and so basically what is happening is you're having a job allocations to people, and they're getting quicker at their job because they know their job.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're narrowing their focus, which means they only
Wow.
have one task
Right.
to do, one task to repeat, and one task to remember how to, what the process is.
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of like when you think of, is it Ford? He
Oh yeah.
like designed the assembly line where
Assembly
it's kind
line.
of
Yeah.
like, right. It's like, okay, the one person has the piece that they're putting here, the other
Mhm.
person has this. And it's like, you're not expecting people to multitask. You're not expecting them to
Yeah.
do crazy things. I think this is like a wealth of information because I don't think a lot of businesses, especially any sort of remodeling or woodworking business, I've never heard of this before. So I don't know. This is like a really good gold nugget that
Yeah.
I think everyone should pay attention to because I think people try to have this person do this and this person do that. And then it's like confusing because I think they're trying to overload them with tasks, but then it ends up being inefficient.
Right.
Because you're right. Then the next day, you still have to drop off that material to the
Right.
other house.
Right.
So you're doing essentially double the work.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, so that
That's smart.
overlapping is really conducive for doing things in it. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about Henry Ford because the guy who taught me, he used Henry Ford all the time as an example.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. He was like, and he was like, and another thing is the stations didn't move, the cars moved to the station. So the car would move through, and these guys would do different things on the car, and then it would move to the next station. So the guys would stay in one place. And that's what you want your technicians to be able to work unhindered by their surroundings, So
Absolutely. Because it's like it's a complicated process.
yeah,
I mean, a whole remodel has a lot of moving parts, has a lot of lighting on shipments, or, you have to know where things are at. So it's kind of like building a car. A car is
yeah,
a complicated thing. You cannot expect people to do multiple tasks and assume that it's going to come out well
right.
done.
And even like a small thing as installing a sink, right? So people get these appliances, right? Wherever they get their Appliance City, Best Buy, and usually all these places have appliance installers, right? But there's
Yep.
gaps. There's gaps. Like they'll come and they'll install the fridge, and they'll do the microwave, and they'll do the stove. But there's gaps. Like nobody's hooking up your sink. So what do you got to get a plumber to hook up your sink? No, but my installer, he's learned, he knows how to hook up. So now the customer doesn't have to get a plumber to come and just connect the quick connects for the sink. They're not going to do that. So we'll do that and save them getting another tradesman in, and also time.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take to schedule, a plumber to do, I don't know, a half-hour job, 15-minute job,
Right. And if, let's say, they can't come out for a week,
Right. You can't use your kitchen.
then
What's the good is your kitchen?
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I like that it's like, especially when the project is like so large, I would want a company to come out and say, listen, by the time we're done here, everything is going to be ready for you to use and we're going to be clean and that's it. Like, I wouldn't want to have to hire a plumber separately just because that is a pain. And then
Right.
I think people also don't realize that a lot of companies will do this kind of sneakily. Like they'll write the whole contract out
Yes.
and then they'll be
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, we don't actually install your sink.
Right.
Like, you didn't think we did that, did you? That's a plumber. So then you're kind of stuck mid job looking for other
Wow.
tradespeople. And then what happens if you hire someone that doesn't really know what they're doing or like they don't know the scope of the work
Yeah.
and they do something that's not in the right spot or
Right.
they mess it up? Then you're kind of left with this half done project. And that's honestly how people also get bad reviews. It's like,
Yes.
I didn't know from the beginning
Right.
that I had to hire a plumber.
Right. And so that's why the communications person is so important. They're constantly talking to the client and letting them know what to expect, because we do this all the time, but we have to talk to them like they don't understand any portion or any part of construction. So we really let them know about what's going to happen, and you manage their expectations so they know after happens, this is going to happen. You're going to need somebody to install. A lot of times they think that we're installing their appliances, and we have to tell them, no, you have to. Usually it's provided. You have to ask for it,
Yep.
or sometimes it's with an extra fee, but you gotta get that. And then they're like, I get it. But that would be a pinch point for a little bit of rub there if we got to that point, and then they're like, okay, why is my microwave still in a box.
Yep.
That's not when they should be finding out that we don't install. They should be finding out that at the inception of the job, you know? So that's the beauty of the communications officer, the person who's just talking with them about the job.
Right. And bad communication it really is the source of a lot of bad reviews
Yeah.
because people feel duped or people feel sort of like, I was not told the exact scope of this project. And I would have told the fridge installer that they had to install it had I known, but maybe they talked to them on the phone and they're like, "Oh no, we have someone that's going to install it." So now you have this plan that's not correct
Yeah.
because you just weren't told the right information. So I think it's important to have those expectations up front. That means that they can get the right people out there when they need to, and
Yeah.
then the job is just done, and that leaves you ultimately a good review
Yeah.
because they're not going to say, "Oh, Micah didn't tell me I needed this appliance guy." They're going to say, "He actually was guiding us through the whole process
Yeah.
and told us to get this person out there." And that's what you want to be. You want to be the guide
Yeah.
through the process. Even if some of it's not your responsibility, you need to be the one to kind of coordinate it all.
Yeah. And really, it's like you said, there's 3 points to that too. It's you gotta tell them what's gonna go down, and then you have to write it in your contract. But then it helps to tell them what you wrote, because a lot of people don't look at the details in the
Yes.
contract. So if you tell them, hey, this is how it's gonna go, and then you write it in the contract, and then you tell them, okay, so remember in the contract it says this and this and this, and but you're gonna know the things that are they're not gonna read. You're gonna know it because they're just thinking about the kitchen. You're thinking about the kitchen and all that pertains to you, but they're thinking
Yep.
that they're going to start cooking the day you leave. You know what I mean? And so your
Yes.
goal is that they can have that idea that they're going to be cooking, but you're not going to be doing all those parts so they can be cooking. You got to help them get that together.
Absolutely. I've honestly gone so far, like this is what I've started doing is to actually give my clients a task list
Mhm.
that is sort of what is your responsibility, what is
Yeah,
my
that's great.
responsibility,
Yeah.
because I think that in the past there was communication breakdown where it's like, no, you are responsible for sending me pictures of the things that you do. Like, I have no way of getting those pictures because they're on your phone. So like just that type of stuff, and then they can't say afterwards, "Oh, I don't know why this wasn't posted." Well, because you never sent the pictures over. So it's having that, just having sort of a small little checklist or remember to do this type of thing, because people are busy and
Yeah.
they don't remember that stuff. And it's so simple to say, "Oh, just refer back to that list." And then you're all kind of both on the same page. So I like that you do that. I like that you've incorporated this in your business because it's not something that I see that often. Especially when I first started working with the business, there's a lot of miscommunications and a lot of like issues that happen along the way. So if you can get them to minimize the communication breakdowns, then that just leads to better customer service overall.
Yeah. And also punch list. Like, do not be punch listing at the end. You should be punch listing throughout the whole project, because what that does is it reinforces their happiness with the job. If you've just installed the job or you're installing the job, hey, do you see any nicks or scratches that you want us to take care of? While you're installing the job, they're like, no, everything looks good. Okay. They've said that. Everybody's heard it, right? And then now you're doing the crown molding. Do you see any nicks and scratches or anything, any adjustments that you'd, okay, no, maybe that door right there could be, okay, we're on it. And then you fix the door, right? And then now you're putting on the handles that they've picked out, the knobs and handles. Do you see any nicks and scratches that you want us to take care of? Does everything look straight? Any doors you want us to adjust? I don't know. You already did that one. Maybe that one over there. Okay, we're on it. But then now when you're done, okay, so we're done. Do you see any nicks and scratches? You say it one last time, and they say, you know what? I don't, because we've been doing that for the last 3 days or 2 days.
Mhm.
So then your punch list really becomes condensed because you've been on point with getting them to look at the job in a detailed way to where they're happy in the end. And it's not a new thing.
Mhm.
Like, if you're surprised them at the end, be like, hey, is there anything that we can do? Or if you just try to sneak out of there and now they're in their kitchen and they're like, hey, wait a minute, I don't like that. But they've been looking at it for the whole time with a detailed view of, you can adjust these things. I think that's a better way to go, because that's where the time is lost, is if you have to be mobilized on a job and now you got to send a guy back to do all these other things that the customer, and you're really having them stew in the things that they're not happy with. It's better to just address the things at the time. What did Jordan Peterson say? He said, confrontation postponed is confrontation amplified.
Which is 100% true. Because you're right. By the end of that project, they're like, I see this, I see this, I
Right.
see that, I see that. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, what if it's like something wrong with the paint? Now you have to go get
Right.
whatever supplies
Yeah.
that you remove from the property and bring them
Right.
back. You're losing time, and
Never
then
the
you're
time.
again losing productivity. And then you have now eroded the
Right.
confidence in your team in the customer's eyes,
Right.
because I would be thinking, why did they not double check this as they were going?
Yeah.
Because now, it's at the end, they've cleaned up. And I feel like then it also becomes awkward because they're sort of asking you, hey, do you see anything wrong? And you don't want to be like, I see a lot wrong. And I know you guys have to bring all your stuff back, but that's how it is. So at least if you're in it and you guys are painting and it's like, oh, can you fix this spot here? No problem.
Right.
So that's a much easier way to do it. And I really don't think a lot of people do that. They wait until the ends of the jobs,
Yeah.
and then it becomes a bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen people too, like I've seen clients say, hey, are you going to address this? And the carpenter get all upset. Well, I'm not done yet. Wait till I'm done. No. Like, yeah, there is some things bona fide that they're going to address. You're not going to caulk the top of the crown as you're putting up the crown. You're going to put up the whole crown and then caulk everything together, right? But you don't have to be defensive when they say, hey, is that gap going to be there? You could just answer them and be like, no, we're going to handle that gap
Yes.
as we're going to handle any other gaps that you're going to see right now. But is there any paint or chips or adjustments, other things that you see? And that's like a really better way of handling it, because you're not shutting them down and basically saying, don't look at my work until it's done.
Yep.
You're saying that's going to be addressed, but is there anything else that I can address right now? I'll do it for you. It
disarms them.
keeps the lines of communication open, and you're not shutting them down. Because what you don't realize when you're shutting them down, they're like, okay, I'm going to find stuff when they're done. The floodgates of finding will be upon them when they're finished.
Which is totally true. I think that's part of it too, is a lot of contractors, they know what's going on. They know the process. They
Right.
know the order of things. But as a homeowner, you just don't.
Yeah.
And when I actually had this happen once with a concrete guy that I was working with, I no longer work with him because the jobs he was doing ended up in a lot of phone calls that were like this. Basically, the woman was like, my whole entire backyard is ripped apart, and he broke our sprinklers and all this stuff. And like, at the end, he was like, well, we were going to repair the sprinklers, but never told her any of this, and was very upset when she was accusing him of breaking all of her sprinklers and the yard was torn apart. And I was like, but I feel like you should have just said at the beginning, hey, we're going to have to dismantle your sprinkler. Just simple things that then she wouldn't have been surprised. Then she wouldn't have been upset. Then she would be like, oh, I trust him more because I know this is the process. And then it's just the way that he was speaking to these customers. I wonder why they don't want you to come back to their property,
Right.
because you've already upset them. Even though this is how the job is supposed to go, nobody wants to look outside and see their grass torn apart and don't know when you're coming back or something like that. So just being honest and showcasing, this is what happens now. This is what happens now. We finish this. If there's a mistake here, let us know now, and we're happy to fix it, rather than waiting till the end when you're upset about everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some things too that you can do that don't cost any. You know how they'd say like a kind word to somebody that you meet doesn't cost anything, but it can do them a monumental wealth of good, right? And the same thing is on the job. There's tons of things that you can do that don't cost you anything, that really enhance a together working environment that the client's going to remember forever, and try to me, I try to optimize on those things. Like if you can, I don't know, what's a good example of it? Sometimes we have extra rollouts that, you open a door of a base cabinet, and there's a rollout there that you can put things on. We have extra of those, right? So if a customer is like, hey, I can't get to the pots in the back, the next day you go to the shop and you grab an extra rollout that you have from taking one out of another job, and you put it and you give it to them. You know what I mean? It costed you nothing to do because it was already paid for from another job. and
Mm-hmm.
they put it on there, and you can even mark it as a line item, of extras,
Yeah.
and then put no charge, like install this rollout in the base cabinet, no charge, just so they can see that you did something. But that's like, they will refer you if you do little things like that that cost no money, and I don't know. I think that goes a long way if you can do little things that people need or like or want, and you don't, have to beat them over the head monetarily for it.
Yes, I agree. That puts you in a unique advantage spot, I feel like, because that is the thing that people will remember
Yeah.
when they refer you. It's like very small
Hmm.
things. We've had a lot of work done at my house, and just like the small things are some of the things that I do remember,
Yeah.
rather than maybe even the bigger things. But it's like, wow, that was really nice, or that was really helpful,
Right.
or he had really good ideas, or just even just the way that people communicate with you, it just make it nice and pleasant experience,
Yeah.
then it goes a long way. I really appreciate that about the way that you do business, because I think that that's super important, especially with, in today's world, just being nice to each other, being
Yeah.
helpful.
I mean, they're your neighbor. You're going to see them in DeChico's, right?
Yes, exactly. Or you're going to see them when you do your next
Right.
project.
Right. Right.
So, you want to make sure you get the next
Yeah.
project from them, because those are the people that are likely to buy from you
Yeah.
again, because people have more stuff to be done. And once they know that they can trust you with a project, that's the person that they're always going to hire again. They're not going to try a new person.
Yeah.
They're going to stick with you always. So they are a customer for life, essentially. And you just have to make sure to nurture that relationship.
Yeah. A lot of times I say, how'd you hear about us? And they'll say, hey, you did my friend Sarah's kitchen and she loved you. And and my brain, I'll be like, I don't know who Sarah is, you know, but obviously we did some time back, we did their kitchen, and they were happy with us. So you
Hmm.
don't know all the seeds that you sow when you do, uh, you know, mindful acts of kindness, or just do something without really, you know, going crazy with the charges on it. It really
I
helps.
Completely. So that leads me to my next question. What would your best customers say about you that you're most proud of? Like if we called like your top 3 customers, what would they tell me?
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good question. Hopefully, they would say that his guys were gentlemen. They cleaned up after themselves. And, as a company, they did exactly what they said and more. I mean, that would be an ideal, compliment. It's just as simple as doing what you say you're going to do. And then if you could
Mhm.
do a little bit more, that's even nicer. If you borrow somebody's car, and you bring it back with a full tank of gas is kind of what's expected.
Yep.
But now if you get it washed, then you went a little bit beyond. You know what I mean? But if you can go through every job with that like mindset, I think, that's the way to do it.
I like that. And I do think your top 3 customers would absolutely say that about you, cuz you do go above and beyond. And it's really like people notice that stuff. I think that people underestimate how much they notice it, but they really do. I have one more question for
Yeah.
you. Okay. So what would you never change no matter how much you grew? What is kind of the line you won't cross?
I would say the line I won't cross is, I guess it would be like, really, it'd be safety, safety is really important. We're working around dangerous stuff like spinning blades and in people's houses with their kids. And, so sometimes people want you to work at breakneck speeds, but you really can't do it at the cost of safety. You know what I'm saying? So you really want to be efficient, and sometimes people see you working fast and they say, "Oh, that's dangerous." But no, we're not working dangerously because we have a process in place. And I think, yeah, that safety is always what you want to kind of keep in mind, because we're working around families, and that's the first thing. You know what, we want all the guys to go home with all their hands and fingers at the end of the day, right? And we want
Yeah.
the houses and the people that we're working with to be safe. And I have kids of my own, and if I'm doing something that is a ditch or a hole outside, you want to put fencing around it so when you leave, the kids can't fall into it. Like, the safety is really an important part for me. And then also, like, that's just in the mechanics part of it. But then I guess the mindset would be, the integrity of it all. You don't want to bury anything in the wall that you think is gonna not, just because it's not seen doesn't mean it's not right. You want to
Mm-hmm.
do good work even when nobody's watching, or you want to do good work even when it's going to be hidden in the floor or the ceiling or behind a cabinet. So all that is really important. So I would say those two things: safety and integrity.
Okay, I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. It was a great conversation. I learned a lot about you, a lot of stuff I knew already, but I learned a lot of new stuff, and I know that you provide an amazing service for anyone that you help. So anybody that needs kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, anything you need, woodwork, Micah is your guy. He's really, really amazing. And what's your areas that you service, Micah?
Yeah, so we're licensed in Putnam Valley, Westchester County, but also in the 5 boroughs. So like we do a lot of millwork in the city, but then we
Okay.
do a lot of renovations and actually home builds too, and in Westchester and Putnam Valley. So that's
Okay.
what we've been
Did
doing.
did you build your house?
Yeah, I built my house. Yeah,
You did. That's amazing. Like, that is incredible. It's a beautiful house,
thank
and
you,
I can't believe you built it. That's really cool.
thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun project. It was my COVID and pre-COVID little fun job.
Wow. That wasn't a little fun job. That was a big fun job.
But my wife gets on me because there's some little things I haven't finished. She's like, "You're always working on other people's houses." I said, "Well, yeah,
Was it the shoemaker's kids have the worst
yeah, the worst
shoes,
shoes.
or
Yeah,
what is that?
they have the most holy shoes."